Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you of all of the new guns in Battlefield 1. I was fortunate enough to get invited out to play the DLC early, courtesy of EA. You'll see the big, sponsored by EA watermark in the right-hand corner. That means that they paid for the flight, the trip, and all the expenses. Unfortunately, I didn't get cash. Wish I did. EA, if you're listening, please send me a giant bucket of cash. I'd love that. But let's talk about every single one of the new weapons, including the new Trench Raider kit. But we're going to be starting out with the Ribeyrolles 1918 submachine gun. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation on these weapons because they're almost all French because it's a French-based DLC. But this is the assault class submachine gun, and it's probably my overall favorite weapon from the DLC, if not one of my current overall favorite weapons, period, because it's the only weapon in the game that, or definitely in the assault class, that doesn't function like a submachine gun, but more like a true assault rifle, something that I would be more familiar with from modern times. Compared to the submachine guns in the game, it's got low rate of fire. I mean, it really doesn't shoot very fast at all. Damage, not particularly impressive. So given those two things, time to kill, not particularly impressive. Most of the other ones outpace it. However, it is very, very, very accurate. Probably the most accurate submachine gun in the game. The hip fire is quite accurate, but it's extremely accurate when aiming down sights. And inside the assault class, it's one of the few guns that I feel truly comfortable aiming down sights with. Iron sights are good too, but the bipod is amazing. It doesn't seem like a very brilliant attachment for a submachine gun, but the ability to post it up on something like its light machine gun, or just instantly hit Z to go prone and just hose people with incredibly accurate fully automatic fire is very, very satisfying. And the overall handling of the gun is much more like an assault rifle than a submachine gun. Magazine size is only 25 and reload time is a little slow. Both of those could use some improvement, but this is overall probably one of the most versatile weapons in Battlefield 1, and in my opinion definitely one of the better ones. And it works for a less aggressive assault player. You're not going to be able to run up into people's faces and go ham with this. You're definitely not going to beat that good old Automatico trench or sustain a Hellriegel. But if you hold back just a little bit, if you go prone, if you crouch, if you set it up right, it can definitely do some work, and I personally love this weapon. Next up, let's talk about the Trench Raider kit. It's not nearly as OP as it looks. You may see some other Battlefield YouTubers going on a big spree with it. That's mostly because they were sneaky. I thought I could just take this thing and run up and melee the devil out of people, soak up a bunch of bullets, and just kind of go ham. I think I had these weird fantasies of using the gravity hammer or the sword from Halo on people that were just kind of unprepared. That is not the case, because this has less health than the other kits. I thought the Trench Raider, if anything, would be like this big, beefy, unstoppable juggernaut, but that is absolutely not the case. He has somewhat less health than the other specialist, and if you take a lot of gunfire, or really any gunfire, it staggers your sprinting, both away from people and toward them, so you're not going to be able to sprint into people and just kind of club them to death. And since I was playing against much smarter battlefielders than I run into in general public lobbies, the majority of them just walked backwards slowly and hip-fired me into oblivion. It was a very unpleasant feeling to get the special Trench Raider kit and be like, alright, now is my time to shine, now is my time to melee everybody in the ground, and they just walk backward and hose me. The real benefit to this guy, what really attracts me to him, even despite these downsides, is that he is the only kit character, or specialist, or whatever you want to call them, that can heal himself. He can throw down a big medical crate and heal himself and teammates. So if you run in and you club somebody and you take some damage, you can just go around the corner, heal yourself really fast, and come right back in. He carries 4 grenades instead of the standard one, and his secondary weapon is a good old number 3 revolver, which is very effective. I've kind of fallen in love with that pistol lately. You'll see it a lot here in the gameplay. So I think this guy works much better as an assassin and much less as a run-in and get like a multi-kill. He's not going to do like the Flame Trooper kit where you just hose 4 or 5 people. Like, that's just not going to happen. And if you check out One Cheesy Mofo, or Nacho, I think he's got a 12 or 20 player kill streak on his channel, mostly because he was obsessed with the Trench Raider kit throughout an entire play session. That's all he did. And also because he played it very conservatively, where I was trying to get aggressive like gameplay footage. Also, you should go to Nacho's channel and ask him what his first job is. He hasn't made a video on it yet, and I'm not going to spoil it, but just definitely go ask Nacho what his very first job was. Next up on the list, let's talk about the RSC 1917. This is the medic rifle. It's semi-automatic like all of the other, well, most of the other medic rifles, and I have very, very mixed feelings about this one. My first bit of gameplay with this was fantastic. It was so satisfying. It felt so good. Obviously you're watching it right now. It's got a lot of good things going on about it. It is the only medic rifle in the game that can two-shot up to 50 meters, meaning it is the highest damage medic rifle in the game, which is awesome. After that, after about 50, 60 meters, it's three-shot, but all the other rifles are three shots anyway, so that's just fantastic. I love pop dropping people. It feels so good and satisfying. The gun is also very accurate. I have no issues with either the aim down sights cone, shooting it while strafing or whatever. The bullet speed is fast. The muzzle velocity, that's the same thing, muzzle velocity. Very limited drop off, not much idle sway on the sights. It had a very, very good feel to it, but it has some major downsides. I wanted, after my first use, I had a good experience. I wanted to say this is clearly the best medic rifle in the game. It's OP. Some of the developers said they felt it was a bit strong, but it's only got a 6-round magazine, and the reload time is like really, really slow. If you empty the entire magazine instead of just a couple rounds, it's even slower. So it's just downright brutal in that regard. Even in a good situation, you're only going to have the ammo capacity to kill 3 people, and it fires very, very slowly. I'll admit that after falling in love with the Seb Slider, I don't use very many other of the medic weapons, but I feel fairly confident that this is going to be the slowest firing medic rifle, if not the close to the slowest. So your effective time to kill is definitely a little bit lower, and it's not a pleasant feeling rifle. You can miss, you can do some goofy things, and when you do miss, your follow-up shots take a long time. It's amazing under 50 meters though. Like under 50 meters, being able to two-shot people is great. And it's a great cleanup gun. Almost anybody that's injured, I think it does like 65, 63 damage up to pretty impressive range. So anybody that's taken like a shot or two from any other gun, you can just kill them in one shot. I picked off a ton of people just one-shotting them, dropping them, getting cleanup kills. Very good. And also I hated the optical version. So the optical version of this gun has, I guess, what we could call a World War I red dot sight. And it has improved accuracy and recoil and handling and all that sort of stuff, but unfortunately the gun shake or the visual recoil is very high. I find it obstructive, and I generally dislike the optical weapons in the game, so I didn't have a good time with it. I still can't make up my mind whether I love the RSC because it gets good cleanup kills and it two-shots people, or if I hate the RSC because it shoots real slow, and if I miss, I'm kind of screwed. Moving on today, let's talk about the Chauchat. The Chauchat. I cannot pronounce this weapon. This is the French light machine gun, which I found to be very strange performance-wise, because in real life, this weapon is a total piece of shit. There's no other way to say it. I try not to curse on the channel, but it's a very, very slow reloading gun. It jammed a lot. It's got this weird open magazine that you would get grass and mud in. And I personally have not fired this one, but I have some friends who are gun enthusiasts who have fired it. It kicks like a mule. It's not a pleasant weapon to use, but this gun kicks a ton of butts in Battlefield 1. Managed not to curse there, doing a good job. Like, this is a very, very good light machine gun. I actually perhaps might like it more than the BAR or the MG&A. It feels almost like a DMR/LMG hybrid. Your magazine size, much like the BAR, is only 20, so that's not very impressive. But the accuracy is quite high, especially if you're only firing a couple of shots at a time. If you go fully automatic, the aim down sight spread cone gets very wide and your bullets kind of go crazy. However, for the most part, if you keep it in bursts of usually 2, sometimes 3 or 4, it can be incredibly accurate, and the damage is incredibly high too. It doesn't take very many shots to kill. Muzzle velocity might be lacking a little bit, but it can be awesome. Like, you can just hose people with it. So accurate, so good, so satisfying. And then it can be a little weird because it shoots a little slow and the magazine's not very big. Hipfire I didn't like very much. Overall, for this weapon, I prefer the one with the optical version. I much like having the sniper scope, even though that makes it a little bit harder to hipfire and you can't do medium range very well. But you can use it truly like a DMR, like a medic rifle with just a ton of ammo that also has the ability to hipfire and to spam people, and it works very, very well like that. Moving along, let's talk about the Sjögren Smorgasborgen. I don't even know how to say it. We're going to say the S Inertial shotgun. In World War I, this was one of the first true semi-automatic shotguns ever made. The mechanism and model it's still used today in several shotguns, and I didn't like it. Basically, it's a very low damage shotgun, and it's kind of funny feeling. I try not to get too much into the feeling of these things. I try to stick to objective facts and statistics and observations, but I truly didn't enjoy the way that it feels. It looks very cool. Sometimes it kills people, sometimes I woof it. It's very inconsistent, but I'm kind of bad with Battlefield 1 shotguns. That's one weapon class in Battlefield 1 that I just personally don't use and have not mastered. I don't have a good feel for it, and it sounds completely stupid, but I have a hard time aiming shotguns. Most of my expertise in aiming is very fine movements at long distance, but this spinning and like hip firing like crazy, close quarters, not very good at it. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I don't find it to be high enough damage or long enough range or consistent enough to be worth your time. However, Mugs TV went on a rampage with this one and actually won the big challenge with it. So at the end of the day, at the capture event, we did this big challenge. The community manager, Jeff, comes in and he says, hey, whoever gets the most score on the winning team of this game of Conquest is going to get an Xbox One S, a rare, super rare Battlefield 1 edition to take home. You just get, it's like one of a kind, or one of a few hundred that like the employees get, like super rare. And we got all 64 of the YouTubers together and streamers to just try hard and PTFO super hard, try and cap all these flags, do everything. I think I ended up coming in like 12th. Yeah, I screwed around a little bit at the end. I was like 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that neighborhood. Brass Monkey did really well too. But Mugs, of all people, we kind of expected the medics or the support guys would kind of abuse the kits that they have to get free points. But Mugs TV played on a big open sniper map with this stupid ass shotgun as an assault. He didn't give ammo, he didn't res anybody. He just PTFO'd super hard, played super close range, and like baited people and hosed them down with this thing. So maybe I'm just bad with the shotgun. Maybe I don't understand it. Maybe there's a better way to do it. But personally, I would just never use it. Getting near the end here today, we have the Lebel Model 1886. The best way I can say it with, well, when it has a scope on it is it's a sniper rifle. It works roughly the same as the other ones. It handles similar range, damage drop, sweet spot was nothing special. It go for headshots for the most part, or one body and then some pistol shots. However, the infantry version was a lot more fun. I am not great at this, it's not my skill set, but it had a much faster aim down sights time than any other infantry sniper rifle in the game, even more so if you take the bayonet off. So you can snap aim people really fast with it. It was almost like a Battlefield's version of a quickscoping weapon. It's not quite same as the Martini Henry heavy infantry where you can just like drop people in the chest. It still has its own sweet spot. You still kind of want to go for headshots, but if you want to do close quarter sniping, this is probably the best one in the game, at least as far as I'm aware. Like, if I'm going to do CQC sniping in the future, I'm probably going to get the Lebel. The next weapon we have is the MLE 1903 Extended for the tanker class. I actually didn't play with this one because it's just the pistol with a bigger magazine. Same as the MLE that you've used before with a big mag. I use the MLE all the time and love it. No reason to use it. Let's talk about the melee weapons. There have been 4 added, 3 new, and technically 1 that's been reworked. The Cogwheel Club is very satisfying. I love the audio effect it makes and how it looks when you just crack people over the head with it and brutalize them. But generally speaking, I don't like the really heavy, slow-swinging melee weapons. I'm a big fan of the fast ones. So for me, the nail knife was my personal favorite, which is literally just a nail that's bent into sort of a brass knuckle knife to stab people. And you can swing this one really fast. You can stab them in the back. It feels brutal, and it was very fun. This was my personal favorite. When it came to the trench fluer, it was just kind of a knife. There was nothing really special about it, nothing that attracted me to it. And finally, you can now equip the cavalry sword just on its own. You don't have to be cavalry, you don't have to be on a horse. You can just equip the cavalry sword on any class and just run into World War I with a saber if you feel like it. Not a brilliant idea, but you can do it, and that's fun. Overall, my opinion of the new weapons is that they're good weapon additions. They filled in a lot of niches and a lot of gaps that Battlefield 1 was missing. And even with these additions, Battlefield 1 is still struggling a little bit in the weapon variety because it's World War I. How many weapons are there? How different can it be? How different is it going to play? And I think the true weakness of these weapons, if I'm going to add criticism here, is that not many of these have variants, or at least useful variants, not nearly as much as the base weapons. So while these fill in a few niche roles, they're not like general roll out to all classes, change the whole meta weapons. They're much more niche, except for the new Assault SMG. That one I think you're going to see a lot of people using in the future. Guys, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And go to One Cheesy Mofo's channel and ask him what his first job was.